Chat. So I just opened the chat and you can type on it about a bit about yourself, please. Not all together. Just, hi Vivi, I see your camera on. Vivi, if you want, Viviana is the founder of Women's Society, but if you want, you can also write a bit about Women's Society. Let's give 2 more minutes to see if somebody else connects. We're 20 people. And if not, I'll just accept them in the meantime. Elena Vicente, you met me. Yes, Elena is one of my attendees from the coaching workshop. And for me, it's a subject very important in this moment. So Elena is willing to make sustainable jewelry brand and starting also her consulting business in the jewelry industry. Ilenia, hi everyone. I am a fashion designer based in Milan. I have my own brand. I am switching to a brand as much sustainable as the brand as much sustainable as possible. Nice to meet you. Thank you, Ilenia. Nice meeting you. Thank you for connecting. I don't know if somebody else wants to tell us a bit about themselves. Well, it's 6:03. I say we could actually start, and if somebody else connects in the meantime, we accept them. What do you think, Andra? Shall we start?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Viviana wrote.
Sorry?
Viviana wrote, so I think she deserves to.
Yeah, Viviana. Hello everyone, my name is Viviana Quevedo and I'm the founder of Women's Society, a network that aims to work for a more equitable and sustainable society. I belong to Women's Society as well, so you can all join. Thank you, Vivi, for writing. So with this, we can start our talk from today. Today we're going to speak about natural versus synthetic fibers. The idea of this talk is Andra and I are going to have like an open conversation about sustainability. It's not just for brands, it's also for us as consumers, how to make better decisions, or at least how to like understand what decisions we are making. Belen, I'm a footwear designer and I make shoes with leather scraps that other factories discard. Amazing. That's amazing, Belen. Congratulations. It's going to be 3 sessions. Today is natural versus synthetic fibers. Next Monday, it's going to be about recycling, upcycling, and downcycling. So Belen, that will be definitely for you. Last but not least, it's going to be on local production. It would be great if you could all join us in all of them. And we are planning to do many more. So any comments or requests, they're more than accepted. So we can actually take them into consideration for the next ones. And having said this, I'm going to here introduce myself. Briefly, I am Diana Llanes. I am a footwear designer and I have a consulting firm super specialized in sustainability. We do design and product innovation, and we try to guide brands towards a more sustainable way of operating. So I invited Andrada. She has been working for the past 10 years in digital and innovation. She has, 10 years of experience, super knowledgeable. So please, let's take advantage of all of this. And I will give her the chance to introduce herself.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you for everyone joining us today. I know it would have been much more fun to be in person, but even digital sometimes helps. I studied actually, well, I studied economics and finance. So you would say like, okay, why am I here talking about sustainability? I actually arrived at this important topic through innovation. I worked in consultancy, then I worked in a textile company, and now I'm working in a holding where we have 3 fashion brands, of which 2 are luxury and premium luxury, and another one is athleisure. And our main concern from the day one was sustainability and innovation through sustainability. So basically, in my last 5 years, I've been dealing with technologies and digitalization through processes and supply chain that actually help a lot every company to become more sustainable, and even to work with startups dedicated specifically to the fashion industry, both in the textile and a final product. So this is basically my background. So actually, from my point of view, it's going to be sustainability and innovation, or innovation that brings sustainability.
Thank you, Andra. And so, of course, during the presentation, if you have any questions, just write us in the chat. We wanted to actually start a bit with the concept of sustainability. Me having a consulting firm, I always receive requests such as, I want to have a sustainable brand, but it's always very vague. Like, I realize that many of us still don't know fully what is to be sustainable. And in here, we tried to put what is sustainability to us in 3 keywords. So it's balance, respect, and transparency. Okay. As you can see in here, in these 3 circles, we have the sustainability has 3 main pillars. So we speak about environmental sustainability, social sustainability, and economic sustainability. There's no company that can actually be sustainable if it doesn't generate enough money to pay everyone and to be profitable, to keep on growing. There's no company that, if they're underpaying their employees, can be called sustainable. And if, for example, they discharge chemicals in the river, they're not environmentally sustainable. So when we speak about sustainability, it's extremely important to know that at the moment, there's no way that we can be 100% sustainable. We're working towards that. And we have to take into consideration these 3 pillars so that we can go into a more sustainable direction. I don't know if you agree with that, Andra.
Yeah, well, of course I agree. In my previous work, I was focusing mostly on the transparency aspect, because part of being sustainable is telling to your customers where is, the fabric coming from, where it was produced, how much it was consumed in order to arrive to the, to the final market. And there's a huge work in terms of understanding every piece in the supply chain. So that's something that I've been focusing on mostly in my past years, and it's kind of the first step that the whole value chain in the fashion industry is trying to tackle. A lot of companies don't want to be transparent because they don't want to scare their customers off. But I think it's very important to be honest and say, no matter where your production is, to say why is it in Bangladesh or why is it in South America, even though you're a made in Italy brand, so on and so forth, because we will see that the implications are actually pretty important in terms of social, social impact. That having, your supply chain somewhere in East Asia or in South America, even though you're in theory a made in Europe brand, it's not actually that bad. As you said, you always need the right balance in order to understand. So the part with transparency, it's something that I've seen in the textile industry being, tackled a lot. The part with respect is the one that obviously is very important, and you can see it physically through all the certifications that are around that are attached to a final product. So this is kind of the way we can understand if the product, respected the workers and paid the right wages and, paid the right amount of attention to the environmental issues. So basically, if you think about respect, you always think about certifications. And then the balance is the hardest part to achieve, right? Because then you have to put all of them together. You have to put the social impact as well and the brand image as well in equation, and draw the line and see, okay, what brings value to my customers from one hand, value to me as a company on the other hand, and value to the ecosystem that I'm creating. So this is how I've seen different brands working towards achieving sustainability.
Definitely. Yes. And I think, yeah, the most difficult one at the moment is transparency actually in the industry.
Yes.
Because also for what you said, but as well, I think that to them it's just a matter of competition. They don't even want you to know the factories they're using. So the factories won't have other clients that will take their attention out of the production line.
Yeah, it depends a lot about what kind of company we're talking about.
Yes, of course.
Their position in the market, and then obviously I know a lot about this because it actually involves a lot of technology. Because I worked in the cotton industry in the biggest supplier in Europe, Albini, and the hardest part we had to deal with is that we had to understand where the cotton is coming from, and where are all the yarn factories, because not everything was produced by us at the time, because it would be impossible. Like the biggest yarn manufacturers are in Asia, and then we had to test that the cotton that we owned actually coming from US or from Egypt or from South America, they didn't change it, the composition, and they put Chinese cotton inside. So everything had to be dealing with a lot of investment technology. You had to create the DNA, you had to create infrastructural systems in order to understand if, give a code to each element in order to have a 100% traceability. So that's why I'm saying it's a lot of technology involved, not only good willing.
Of course. Amazing. So basically, always to speak about sustainability, at the moment, we have been speaking about the Sustainable Development Goals, which are from the United Nations. And this is the best graphic where we can see that sustainability is not just if you are a vegan brand or you use leather, but with vegetable tan or whatever. So the first one is actually no poverty. So that means paying well your employees. They need to actually educate people, and actually education, we also have it in here. We have zero hunger. We have good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality. So imagine the environment is basically among the last ones, but it's not because it's not important. It's because if our social environment is healthy, and our people are well educated and they eat well and they're healthy, then there's much less to care about, because they will be also educated to respect the environment, and they will be educated to also be know how to manage their finance, and to understand it's, we people are the first thing that we have to take care of in speaking about sustainability. Okay, super important that we take this into consideration. And
Yeah, I'm gonna throw a bone to the audience, and it just food for thought. You know, like I think, yeah, around 10 years ago, there was a big case against Nike because they discovered that in Bangladesh and Vietnam, in a lot of their, you know, production sites, they were using underage employees. So obviously on one side, everyone was like blaming them because why you're doing this, it's not fair, you know, they're working under bad conditions. I mean, you're, you know, taking advantage of this young manpower. On the other hand, though, I think before judging, so this is again a food for thought, I'm not labeling anything, I don't know what's right or wrong. But on the other hand, we have to understand the culture in these countries. Most of the underage men and women are actually the only ones that actually care for the entire family, the only ones that they can work for different reasons. Culturally, in some of the countries, it is accepted, and they're pushed by their parents to start working at 12, 13 years old. So we have to understand what to blame and how to manage the situation, even considering the social benefit that we actually bring, because putting them outside the workforce would actually have a great impact, an economic impact in that countries, again, to a lot of families that without that kind of work, they will die of hunger. So you always have to put things in balance, to go
yes.
back to
Speaking
what you
of
said.
balance, our first
It's
keyword.
very important, exactly, not to think about one element and say, oh my God, they did a horrible thing. What they did horribly is that they were underpaying them, and they didn't ensure they had the health insurance they needed. There was other things that Nike did horribly. But in my opinion, probably the fact that we're using underage workers in that specific countries, knowing all the social circumstances, is not that the point where they did wrong.
Yeah, as the Rana Plaza. This all started, so basically fashion until 2013 was paying no attention whatsoever to social and environmental sustainability. It was just economical sustainability. They were more than sustainable. And in 2013, there was the Rana Plaza incident, which basically an entire building crashed, and more than 3,000 people died, and more than 3,000 people were injured. And among these people, 75% were women, and among these women, more than half of the women were underage. So after that, and the whole building was full of factories. So after that, fashion said, okay, there's something really wrong in here. And again, as Andra is saying, we're not here to judge if something is good or bad. We also need to understand that there's also underage people needing to work. I personally am starting a project with underage, like young mothers in Venezuela's slums. There's the average age for the slums to have a kid is 13 years old. So of course, these kids, they do need to work, but they also do need to study. So it is really important to take those things into consideration and actually to work so that this doesn't happen, so that these kids can actually be kids. But that's a long
right. Yeah, you have to do the things right, to be accountable for every possible risk, and to be to take carefully care of the people that are working for you, no matter where they come from, and no matter their age. So this is kind of being socially sustainable. I'm
yes.
taking care of you.
Yes.
And I'm telling this to my customers because it's important. I communicate, I'm transparent.
Yes, totally. And due to actually this sustainable development goals, by the way, this is a parenthesis, we're just speaking this before we go into natural and synthetic fibers, because we think it's extremely important for you to understand what is sustainability. So the Fashion Pact was signed in Biarritz last year in March, if I'm not mistaken. And it's, I will pass the slide and come back. all these companies, so 20 companies signed for this pact, which is willing, like all the companies are willing to make the fashion industry much more sustainable. Among, they have 3 pillars for the pact. So it's climate, biodiversity, and oceans. And here you have, like, for climate is mitigating and adapting to climate change. For biodiversity, bending the curve of biodiversity loss within 10 years. Because the Fashion Pact, the first deadline is in 2030. So we have 10 years to go. Oceans, addressing the critical loss of ocean functionality due to climate change and pollution. Okay, and in here you can actually see some, there's a bit more, but there's many more. These are like the ones I find more important as key aspects of the Fashion Pact. So net zero by 2050. This is, they're all going green. Basically zero footprint on electricity, water. Protection and restoration of ecosystem, which is to these 3 main pillars that I just spoke about. Eliminating single-use plastic by 2030, and that is for business to business and business to consumer. So we should find no more plastic, and it means also, just for you to know that, like, sustainability is not that easy, but even when I receive the, I don't know, the leather or the fabric
package,
rolls from the factory, they can't have, for example, plastic tape around it. Okay, so even those little details, they will have to be changed. Eliminating microfiber release from the washing on synthetic fibers. We're going to speak afterwards about microfibers, but this is a really big impact we are doing in the world. Most of the microfiber release they find in the ocean, 35% is coming just from the fashion and the textile industry. And educate consumers in product care so they can be more durable. We don't have to buy and dispose.
Well, I think it's obvious that the main thing in the Fashion Pact, and there are actually other groups, organizations, the United Nations level, at the European level as well, where there are different companies working on making their companies and their brands more sustainable, is that they start with the climate, because it's something that we've seen, something we are living now, because even the coronavirus is a consequence of the climate change. And basically the last months after this horrible period, the fashion companies wouldn't stop talking about sustainability and the fact that we really need to react as much as possible and as fast as possible. One more thing, why is this happening? Because only 1% of the total amount of textile and fashion products is recycled in the world. 1%.
Nothing. That's crazy.
And around 30% of all the products are burned. And this is what causes
incineration.
Exactly. So it's not only the production system that it's obviously old and inadequate to be sustainable, but it's even what's happening post-consumer with the products that has a great impact on the climate.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's something we're going to address a bit better next talk, which is going to be about recycling, but really good point, Andra, thank you. Well, these are some of the companies. Anyways, you can look for the Fashion Pact 2019 and you can read all about it on internet. And having said this, we can start with our natural fibers. Just for you to understand, natural fibers are divided into animal and vegetables. So in here we just wrote some of the examples of animals. So silk and wool. Wool can be alpaca, angora, bison, cashmere, mohair, sheep, camel, and vegetable is the ones we have the most and the ones that we're going to like dig in. Okay, so cotton, hemp, jute, linen, and we also added byproducts. So these new products that we've been seeing around, so like made from pineapple or from coconut, Malai, nobody knows about it, but I love it. It's made from the water from the coconut. And Malai is just the name of the company. So they developed this new material.
Yeah, they're all startup. It's all about technology here,
Yes,
because most of the fibers are made from waste, from food waste. Others are even a mixture using biotechnology, because they're actually coming from enzymes. So something that exists in the nature, in the land, in the earth. So this is kind of the new thing coming. And again, it's all about technology.
Yeah. In here, we wanted to speak about pros and cons on the natural fibers. Andra, you are the expert of fibers, so you can go ahead.
Yeah, working with cotton helped. Basically, what it's very important to know is that the natural fibers are renewable, are biodegradable, which actually makes them per se sustainable, because biodegradable means that if you throw them, you know, around wherever, it will take, depends obviously on what kind of fabric, but it can take, I don't know, a few months until, without anything, the earth is going to eat completely 100% that product. So this is something that, you know, it's a very powerful thing today. And versatile, because obviously it can be used for everything. In terms of fashion, there is no product that cannot have natural fibers, none. And then you can use it in completely other industries, from security jackets, or for, you know, all the sheets we use in house, the tablecloths, whatever. So basically it's something that we can use in so many different aspects in our lives. That is crazy. So this is something very, very important to know. The cons, though, is that, you know, there is big debate about that. Is okay, but they're using an excessive amount of water, which is true. And in a post-consumer era, you kind of tend to wash most of the, especially the vegetable, vegetal fibers. You kind of tend to wash them very often. So again, you increase the water consumption. Since except wool, they tend to wrinkle, then obviously you kind of tend to iron. So again, requires from our side as consumers the use of electricity to iron them and to, you know, clean them. Basically, there's this big debate about, is it or is not sustainable? I don't think there isn't a good or bad answer. There are solutions to make it better, but, you know, naturally, it's something that is actually good, because per se it's renewable, easily recyclable, and most and foremost, the biggest difference with synthetic is that it's biodegradable. So this is something very, very powerful. And obviously 90% of the production, I'm talking more or less about cotton, hemp, bamboo, and other stuff, other vegetal fabrics, are produced in low-income countries, which means that, you know, the production of this kind of fibers and per se fabrics helps actually a huge community of people that without this kind of job, I don't know what they could do. So again, we have to put everything in balance.
Totally. And just before we go in the natural, like in the examples of natural fibers, I just wanted to add to this because we always speak about water, and I think that since water is so normal to us, and we are, and like thankfully we've always been used to actually open the tap and we have water, but with global warming and the glaciers melting, glaciers have 75% of water in the world, not of sweet water in the world, fresh water it's called. So it's with global warming and we're losing our glaciers, we're losing also our fresh water. So it is extremely important to be aware as well of that. I remember once that a friend of mine, the first time I started listening about sustainability, that it was bothering me because it was around like 16 years ago. And it was so ephemeral as a word. And this friend of mine, she saw I was brushing my teeth and the tap water was open, like just running. And she told me, you know, people in Africa, they don't have water. And I was like, so if I close my tap, they will have water. I mean, what does it change? So yeah, after that, I understood that I needed to research why was it important. And it's not because someone has or someone doesn't. It's like literally we can all run out of water. It won't be while we are alive. But we have to aim for a better world and to like make the others inherit also a good world.
Yeah, but it's not only that. I mean, if you think about especially cotton, that probably it's
No,
the fact
wait.
that most
The example we're going to speak about it. Don't go to cotton.
Yeah, but I want to just anticipate that it needs a lot of land, and most of the land for the normal cotton has irrigation plants, and this what implies that actually you destroy other piece of land that could be used for food, or you have to deforest in order to have more land to cultivate cotton. So this obviously, it's water consumption plus the impact that it actually have on where you're going to plant this.
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one, Andra. And cotton. Andra, you can go for cotton.
I can go for cotton. Yeah. Well, let's say that probably is most common. We know, I mean, cotton exists from 5,000 years before Christ. The most precious cotton in the world, just so you know, it's from Egypt. And there is actually a small piece from Caribbean. It's like 0.001% in terms of total production in the world. It's called Sea Island, and it's absolutely amazing. This is the most expensive cotton in the world. Why? Because the flowers is long and it's durable. It actually, you can have that kind of product for years and years and years to come. And the more you wash it, the whiter it becomes. So it's absolutely amazing. That's just to say where to buy the best cotton in the world is Egypt or Sea Island cotton from Caribbean. But the main features of cotton obviously is renewable, it's recyclable, versatile because we see it in shirts, denim, velvet, flannel, jersey, so basically t-shirts and whatever we're kind of wearing more or less can be made of cotton. It's very strong. It actually, if it gets wet, it gets even stronger. It's breathable. That's why most of us, this I'm talking more from a consumer perspective, when we tend to sweat, we kind of want to go for cotton rather than for synthetic fibers. We use synthetic a lot for athleisure, but we kind of use shirts that are made in cotton because we know we don't want to sweat. And because again, it's easy then obviously to wash, and there are specific finishing techniques that actually can even make like the cotton products without odor or with less bacteria assumption. So I mean, it's absolutely incredibly versatile. But the cons is that again, it's the plant, it's the fiber that needs most water out of all of them. But the good part is that exists now today the organic cotton, and the organic cotton actually uses 80% less of water to be, to grow. And this is amazing. The only bad thing is that it kind of needs 3 years in order to grow with respect to the normal cotton. And in terms of production, represents only 20% of the production of the normal cotton. So this means produce less.
Yes. So we definitely have to go for organic cotton. It's not just that it needs less water, it also, like the water itself, the difference between the two
and you
of them.
don't use pesticides.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. Is that
yeah, important part. You don't use
pesticides are incredibly pollutant, and of course plants, we have been used to use them on plants as well as fruits, like the fruits we eat, but when it's organic or bio, that's what it means when you go to a supermarket, it's that in theory, it doesn't have any pesticides. So they are made in a more natural way. They're even better for us. Otherwise, we're eating that.
Absolutely. But a tip for you, if you're looking for more sustainable cotton, you should look for certifications like Fairtrade, BCI, GOT certification. Usually these are the ones that are really renowned today. There is not one standard, there are different standards, but this is my advice to you in order to be sure that, you know, the workers are treated fairly, they are consuming the right amount of water and pesticides. If it's not organic, obviously if it's organic, there are some differences. So you just have to look about the companies that are using this kind of cotton and have this kind of certifications.
Yeah, Andra, if you want, I will start speaking about wool, but I think it would be definitely great if you write down the certifications on the chat, so everyone has those names, and also explain, like, where do we find those certifications? Is it something that it's written down on the tag? Is it something that the brand should...
You have to ask each supplier. So each supplier is obliged to provide exactly this kind of certifications. And even before you engage with the supplier or with the brand, you have all the right to ask and to know.
Yeah, great. And wool, we just decided to give 2 examples on natural fibers. Wool definitely is my favorite, and Andrada and I, while we were researching, we were like, oh my God, I need everything from wool. But wool is the most reusable and recyclable fabric in the planet. It biodegrades rapidly. So among all of them, it's maybe one of the fastest. It can be used all year long. Like, it's a myth that wool is just for winter. In fact, if you see Allbirds, which is a footwear brand, they're made out of wool. And the cool thing about wool is that during summer, it becomes cool. So it freshens your body. And during winter, it cools down your body. And in here, we wrote down some characteristics about wool. So it's strong, it's breathable, it's odor resistant, stain resistant, waterproof, sun safe, warm and cool, which is what I was saying, fire resistant, wrinkle resistant, anti-static. Something I wanted to add regarding the odor resistant is that usually we have to wash our clothes because they actually smell. You know, like maybe you walked all day long and they have a strange smell. So since they are odor resistant, we can also wash them less. So it makes the piece last much longer, and B, we use less water and electricity for our piece, okay? So it's much more sustainable, like not also during production, but in the long run, maybe it's like the most sustainable fabric we can use.
Yeah, it's one of the most expensive, but it's one of the most sustainable for sure.
Totally. And in this, we actually wanted to make a very short parenthesis on the fibers, because we're not going to speak about cellulosic fibers, but this is an in-between. So we just wanted to name it so we don't get confused. This is like the process to create synthetics, but with natural fibers components, okay? So maybe we use, or like cellulosic fiber from plants or wood. And in here but at the end, we also have the synthetic fibers process. So they're not as sustainable. They are also not as pollutant as synthetics. And in here, we wrote down some of the ones that we hear the most. So viscosa, rayon, model, lyocell, or tencel. Lyocell, like tencel, is the last name of the person or the company who created the product itself, the fabric.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we can know it from one or the other. So it's like, that's why we wrote it there.
Yeah, especially Tencel, it's pretty well known in the fashion industry because it looks a lot like denim, but it's way lighter. And I think during summer, 20% of the products we see in stores are actually made with Tencel.
Yeah. So closing the parenthesis, because cellulosic fabrics is not what we want to focus on today. We can go to synthetic fibers. In here we find some of the most known examples that we have, like polyester, nylon, spandex, latex, acrylic fibers, Teflon. Teflon.
I have a question for you. Do you know which of these was the first synthetic fiber created?
Nylon.
Yes, you're right.
Today I remember.
Exactly.
I didn't know that until today that you said it.
Was the first one. And do you remember the first commercial use of nylon?
The what?
The first commercial use of nylon.
Ah, toothbrush is true.
Exactly.
Thank you, thank you. True.
But it became like super common around the 60s, the beginning of 70s.
Yeah.
Actually, they revolutionized exactly a bit the fashion industry.
And as we always, as we've been saying since the beginning, it's not in here, we're seeing pros and cons. It's a matter of balance. Our life can't be all cotton, all wool, or all polyester, as we can't just eat meat all day long or tofu all day long, you know? So we have to be balanced in our lifestyle, and we just want to give you the pros and cons or main features about the fabrics, so that you can make better decisions, and when you make them, you understand what you're doing. That's all about it. So among the pros we found on synthetic fibers, it's wrinkle resistant. So for example, when you travel, if you have everything that is synthetic, it's just the best, you know, you just get to the hotel, Airbnb, your tent or whatever, and it will be fine. Stain resistant, that for example, when not just that it doesn't absorb oils, so you can wash it, but also something, if you think about it, like if you get an oil or like some stain on the shirt, you can wash that little part and it's completely clean. Whereas, for example, if that happens with silk, you can wash it, but then you will have the watermark. So you have to wash the entire shirt for a mini stain that was on the hem, you know? So that's things that are really important to take into consideration. It's waterproof and water resistant, is easy to dry, and of course is cheaper.
Way cheaper.
Way cheaper, yeah.
Yeah, most of them obviously, it's way cheaper than the production and the sales
with
price.
like half of the price, so like 50% less. Yeah. And cons, well, it's not biodegradable, derived from petroleum. They release a lot of microparticles, and it's not breathable. And something we didn't write, but I'm just thinking about like right now, synthetic fibers might be also good for like when the weather it's a bit chilly, but if it's hot, they turn really hot. It's impossible to have them.
What do you see in the activewear market? It's not because of the fabric, it's because of the finishing it is applied to the fabric that gives them different properties, you know, cool, whatever, from Adidas or any, I mean, I think every big company in terms of activewear have like innovations in terms of products, but just to be clear, they don't come from the fabric per se, they come from the finishing that is applied.
Yeah, that's a good point. And from the synthetic fibers, and also to start wrapping up, because we would like to give some space for you to ask questions. We wanted to speak about polyester, not because it's the most important, or definitely not the oldest one, since that's nylon, but because it's maybe the one we hear the most, and
is the most common.
It's the most common.
I think it's the cheapest out of all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So among the like the main features of polyester, we found that it's strong, durable, and easy to care for. Little usage of water. So take into consideration, today we were reading some reports like polyester versus cotton, and I think it was for like 1 liter of each material, it's 17 liters of water versus 200,000 liters of water, like polyester cotton. So polyester, on the other hand, though we're always saying, oh, it's super unfriendly, yeah, it used much less water, so it's a good thing to take into consideration. And uh, like they also developed more sustainable polyester. So if it's not plant, there's a plant-based polyester. So that one is biodegradable. If not, it
Yeah,
can.
the famous recycled PET, you know, the literally the plastic bottles that we see in the store, or, you know, the shopping bags, the one from the supermarket.
Yeah.
That's
And also, hopefully, since the fashion industry is working on no microparticles release, that won't release anymore while we wash it. Hopefully, it will work out. It's low resistant to heat. I don't know if you've ever tried to iron something in polyester that you didn't know it was in polyester, and when you passed the iron, it was too hot, and then it opened and it became all stiff in the borders. That's because it's petroleum. It's all plastic. And well, this is an extremely important fact to take into consideration. Each cycle of washing machine could release more than 700,000 microplastic fibers into the air, into the environment. Okay, so the important thing about this is that if we know this, we are going to be more careful when we wash polyester. I'm not telling you, or we are not telling you to not buy polyester, but maybe don't single wash it. You know, it's not like, oh, I used it, I wash it. If you can, just wash the part that you need to wash, or give it 2-3 usage if you manage to. So we make it last longer, and B, we don't pollute that much.
Yes, the impact of the microplastic is absolutely tremendous, actually. But on the good scenario part is that there are out there already some special bags that you can put inside a washing machine, and they actually kind of take most of this microplastic fibers. And on the other hand, a lot of the companies working, you know, they're producing the washing machines are actually investing a lot of money in providing the right technology, again, to filter as much as possible the microplastic. So this is something extremely good that is happening. And I actually worked with one of these companies when I was in the textile company, trying to innovate the post-consumer, you know, washing through the technology in the washing machine, and to help to treat correctly the fabric.
That's amazing. And do you know what do they do with that? For example, the bag that you put in the washing machine, like how do you
Basically,
recycle it?
there are a few brands that actually sell it, especially in the activewear market. Literally just throw it inside with your clothes, and they literally act as a sponge.
Yeah, I can imagine it as the vacuum cleaner
Exactly.
bag. Yeah, but what do you do with that? Then you put it in the non-recyclable trash?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, well, because in Italy we have 5 different trashes, so it's extremely important.
Yeah, of course. Not recyclable. It's not recyclable. Of course it's not. But anyway, it helps because obviously you eliminate the problem from the water.
Yeah, Andra, do you know what's the name of the bag that they're asking in the chat, the name of the bag?
No, but I can research the name. I don't think, I mean, there is not a name of the bag. I've seen this bag in being sold with different brands.
we'll try to look for it. And anyways, this
I can check because I did a research on all the activewear market, and I've seen some sustainable brands selling this bag.
okay.
So it's not a name bag.
Okay, well, I'm
But
going
I
to
think
anyways.
if you Google it, microplastic bag for washing machine, you will find it for sure.
Okay. If not, I'm going to try to find it, and we can, since we're going to send the recap on this video through newsletter.
Yeah, that's
I'm going to try.
I can write it down because I have all the research on even on the names of the brands if you're interested. So I can write down a few names of the brands. It's okay with you?
Yeah, in here say, oh, the bag is part of a specific product. It's not the bag. No, the bag is independent. Dayanira is what Andrada is saying is that few brands sell it as part of their selling products because they know their products have release a lot of microparticles. That is right.
Exactly.
So I'm going to search for it and send it to you.
I already have it. I'm looking in my documents.
Okay, perfect. Well, while you look for that, I'm just going to share this, like, where do microplastic come from? We found this chart, which I find really interesting. So in here, we can see that clothing and textile is the one releasing 35% of it in the ocean, which is the biggest out of all of them. Then we have tires. So tires, don't think it's just the cars, it's also bicycles. Okay, really important for us to know that tires exist in other ways of transportation. City dust, road making. So basically it's us through our daily choices, since it's city dust, tires, and clothing and textiles that are polluting the most, and it's important for us to try to do it less. Were you going to say something, Andra?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I found Girlfriend Collective. It's pretty famous, especially in US, the brand.
Can you put it on the chat?
Yes, I can. And I'm literally trying to send a file here, but it doesn't work. Well, Girlfriend Collective. It's a brand, activewear brand, and they sell this bag. And I'm gonna send you the picture of the bag.
Oh, amazing! Yeah, I'm going to buy it. Just to wrap it up, after this microplastic, it was just to show you more or less where they're coming from. It was more like another parenthesis. We actually worked on some fun facts on the industry. This is Andra's idea, and I thought it was great. So basically, just until 1920s, bathing suits were mostly made out of merino wool. So just to see that actually wool is for any season, people until the 20s were actually going to the beach with bathing suits made out of wool.
Yeah, even in like in competitions, this is what they were.
Amazing. Yeah, of course. Because all of the other synthetic materials are from the 40s on, like 40s, 60s, 70s. So
yeah, and even if viscose, I think, was created around 1920s, but I mean, they needed some time in order to understand where to use it actually. So the fashion applications always come after,
Yeah. Then we also found out that the American paper currency is a blend of 75% cotton and 25% linen, giving the currency a distinct look and feel. But that also, not just the American, most of the banknotes are actually made out of cotton.
Yeah, and I remember when I was a kid, I was always scared when I saw this paper, banknotes that were made out of paper. Like, oh my God, what's going to happen if I throw water on them? Don't worry, nothing will happen, because actually cotton is more resistant with water. So if you've been there, they don't get destroyed. That's the logic behind it. It's pretty old, but apparently it works.
Yeah, that was amazing. And well, last but not least, we found out, though we don't know if this expedition actually ever occurred, if it ever happened, but apparently the first time a man landed in the moon, that flag was made out of nylon. So
exactly. The waving flag was made out of nylon.
yeah, the waving flag in the space where there's no air, but that flag was made out of nylon. Well, having this is
having said that, you know, our introduction was done, so we are welcoming any of your questions.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, I sent you
questions?
the picture with the microplastic bag.
Yeah, it's in here. So if any of you have questions, you can type them down on the chat. We're going to be more than happy to answer them. If anyways you don't have any at the moment, I'm going to type down our Instagram, so you can always oh no, how can I don't know why, sorry, I want everyone. Oh no, I think I sent it to the wrong thing. I'm sorry. I'm looking like grandmas.
Technology.
Yeah, like grandmas. So yeah, there it is. So you can ask us questions always about sustainability.
But you can unmute them if they want to, you know, speak out. If
yeah, exactly.
I mean, we can dedicate 5 minutes to this.
Yeah, I think, no, I don't know if all participants are muted. Yeah, and how do I unmute? Okay, so apparently you're all unmuted, I think so. And if anyone wants to make a question out loud, you're all more than welcome.
I'm going to ask them a question. They just have to say yes or no. Are the things that we discussed today pretty much new to you, or you already known all of it? Just have to say new.
Yeah, tap on, write on the chat if it's new to you or if you knew about it, please. This will also help us for future talks.
Okay, someone wrote,
Dayanira, it's new to you, that's great. Right. Viviana, some I already knew, but others don't. Perfect, Viviana.
That's good.
For example, I see in here, Janela Velez, is it new to you? Is it something you knew already? Belen as well. Then I have Christelle Lind and Iliana.
50-50.
50-50, perfect. And well, Iliana, did you know about the, I knew, but good to review, perfect. Girls, can you share it? As I'm new in this, I really need to review it more slowly. Yes, of course. Yes.
You just with your newsletter, right? You can share the presentation.
Yes, exactly. Everyone who subscribed to the chat will receive this video, and it will be on YouTube, so it will be available always on our channel, so you can review it and you can share it as well if you think someone can be interested in the subject. As well, as I said at the beginning, next Monday we are going to have our talk on recycling, upcycling, and downcycling, another super important subject for sustainability. So I really hope to see you all there. And yeah.
No, there is a question if the certifications for wool are the same as cotton. No, they are not.
Yeah, no. And also it is very important. We were also thinking about doing another one in certifications, but that's going to be complicated. But certifications are also local. So, for example, the European Union has more than 800 certifications, and that's just the EU. Then other regions have others. But yeah, you would have to check the ones you will be needing. Do you know the certifications for wool, Andra?
No, not at the top of my mind, since I never worked with wool.
Yeah, me neither. I'm an expert in leather. Sorry.
Me natural fibers. Yeah, but we can research that because it's not that complicated. But wool has, again, as Diana said before in the presentation, wool is per se way more sustainable because of the production system, because of how you take these fibers, how you create them. So it's easier with wool than with cotton.
Yeah,
way
definitely.
easier.
Definitely. Dayanira, thank you very much for your amazing message.
I asked you to repeat the date of the next session.
Yeah, next day it will be June 1st. So next Monday. It's going to be this Monday, next Monday, and in 2 Mondays. Okay, so it's 3 Mondays on a row, always the same time, 6 p.m. Italy time until 7, and it's 12 p.m. 12 noon New York, Miami time. So you see what your difference on that. And I think we can wrap it up. Again, if you have any questions, you can always send us a message through Instagram. And that's all. Thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Bye. I don't know how to
end.
Yeah, I am looking for it. Okay. So